Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining us for another episode of FPL Fix. We've just come through another action-packed double game week and we're here to break it all down and to give you everything you need to be successful in game week 26. My name's James and joining me as usual is Patrick.
Hi everyone, we've got plenty to talk about today, who delivered in game week 25, a look at the most transferred players, who to target for the upcoming fixtures, and finally we'll be revealing our teams ahead of the deadline.
Before we begin, similarly to last week, the game week deadline is today at 6:30pm UK time, so don't forget and set a reminder so you don't miss out.
Thanks James. Alright, let's not waste any more time. How did your team get on last week? Did you actually play the triple captainship, or did you bottle it again?
Oh, don't worry, I definitely didn't bottle it. My chip was active and the Egyptian king did not disappoint. He was unlucky to only pick up 8 points in their first fixture against Wolves. He had a goal disallowed which would have been assisted by Trent but was adjudged to be slightly offside. And Liverpool even got awarded a second penalty in the game before the decision was reversed and Jota was deemed to have dived. In the second match, he was incredible. His offensive involvement, his energy, positioning, and every time he picked up the ball it looked like he could produce magic. He picked up 12 points through a goal, assist and 2 bonus points, which took him to 20 overall and gave me 60 points as my triple captain. If anything, he was really unlucky not to get more, and would have done so if it wasn't for wasted opportunities from Donkey Núñez, but I can't complain all in all. The only other players that returned for me this week were David Raya through his clean sheet, Trent, who really paid off the premium investment. He was lucky in the first match, locking in the 6 points by getting subbed off 3 minutes before Cunha burst Liverpool's clean sheet. He then went on to score against Villa to give him 13 points across the 2 games, which is 10 more than any of the other Liverpool defenders, and just goes to show why he's the most expensive of the bunch. Chris Wood was the only other asset that produced for me. He scored 1 goal and had max bonus, giving him 9 points altogether, and that keeps him at the top of the forward charts this season. He continues to overperform, which we love to see, well at least I do anyway. Of the rest of my squad, it's Ramsey and Rodgers who are the real disappointments. They had chances in both games, but neither could deliver, and scored a feeble 6 points between the two of them. The last thing for me to talk about is Cody Gakpo. I know this one hurt us both. Going into the deadline, we were unsure on the minutes potential for both Gakpo and Watkins over the double, and it seemed like too big a risk to swap in the England international given the circumstances. Had I done the move, I would have brought in Diaz instead of Ramsey, and that decision ultimately cost me over 20 points, but hey, you can't get everything right all the time, so we've got to move on. How did your team perform this week? Did the slot machine return as you'd hoped?
I got 86 points, which was above the average, but I feel like this is a fake green arrow to be honest, because if you look on social media, most active managers got over 100 points. Like a lot of managers, the Gakpo news had a negative impact on my team. I chose to gamble and kept him in, and that proved to be the wrong decision. My top performer was Captain Salah with 40 points. He had another stellar contribution, making him by far my most reliable prime asset. He could have gotten more points if Darwin didn't decide to be a donkey like you've already mentioned earlier. Chris Wood had another strong performance and got me 9 points, showcasing his importance to my team. I got solid contributions from Onana with 4 points, despite Man United losing, and Digny, who had a double game week, got me 5 points, which I have to be happy with because Aston Villa's defence has been shocking lately. Rodgers got 4 points. He had a subpar double game week, even though he technically plays in a number 10 position in a super aggressive attacking team. As you can see, most of my defenders and midfielders scored 2 points or fewer. Overall, Salah and Wood were my standout players. They carried the team this week, and I got a massive boost from Arnie Slot with 13 points. However, this week has highlighted that I need to focus on reinforcing my defence, and another poor performance from Palmer has forced me to consider alternative options in midfield.
Okay, so we've both had our share of ups and downs this week, but it's time to look at the bigger picture now. While we were sweating over our lineups, there were some players who really stepped up last week and delivered the goods. Let's look at the top scoring players in game week 25.
Starting with the goalkeepers, we have Ederson top of the list with 11 points. Second, we have Flecken, who we both naively left on the bench. and a surprise in Verbruggen against a Chelsea side who failed to register a single shot on target against Brighton. With the defenders, I think James has already talked enough about Trent, so we know why he's top of the list. Below him we have a couple of surprising players, all being 4.5 and under. Tottenham managing to keep a clean sheet is probably the biggest surprise, and Spence produced 9 points and got max bonus. Bassey and Collins joined third, Bassey with a goal and Collins with a clean sheet plus bonus points.
Okay, moving on to midfielders, let's hear it one last time for my triple captain, Mr. Mo Salah himself. No one will be surprised to see him top the charts. Minter is really interesting though. 2 goals and a 15-point display. He's up against Southampton next, and if you're looking for a punt this week, then I really think he might be one to keep an eye on. He's produced only 1 attacking return less than Mitoma this season, but from 13 less starts and therefore significantly less minutes. Diaz scored and assisted against Wolves in his first match, but showed why he's such a minutes risk by only coming on for the last 9 minutes against Villa. Looking at the strikers, and Man City's hat-trick hero, no, not Erling Haaland, but recent signing Omar Marmoush. He picked up 17 points in Man City's surprise demolition of Newcastle and topped the charts in doing so. Second was Watkins, and the gamble really paid off for the brave managers who brought him in, a goal in each game and 15 points overall. Cunha and Wood were both tied for third with 9 points. These two players proving once again that they are bonus point beasts. They scored just 1 apiece, but both claim maximum in their fixtures.
Those players really made an impact last week. Now it's time to check out the most transferred players and see if they are the right decisions or knee-jerk reactions.
Okay, starting with the transferred out players, 3 of the top 5 are injury related. Ahmad is reportedly out for the rest of the season, and Dye is due to be sidelined for weeks, and Gakpo, who faces a late fitness test before Man City after frustrating owners like us by being out of the squad for both fixtures in Game Week 25. The last 2 on this list are Palmer and Rodgers. We both own them this game week, but I've already sold both for the time being. What's your thoughts, and are you tempted to move either out?
Palmer is the player I'm most looking to transfer out. He's had 1 return in his last 4 game weeks. Rodgers is also auditioning to be the biggest FPL troll. It seems like he's decided to only score in cup competitions. Now let's look at the most transferred in players.
Okay, so Marmoush is the top transferred in target, which does look a bit knee-jerk because of the hat-trick he's just scored, but when you take into consideration that Haaland was unfit to play even a minute against Real Madrid in the second leg, Marmoush might be the focal point for City for a while, which could make him a great option. Nwaneri is like a budget Saka, and minutes will continue to be high due to Arsenal's injury crisis. Kluivert has been a solid pick from an informed Bournemouth team all season. Mitoma is worth a look, but I prefer Minter like I said earlier, and Cunha is in great form and has a great fixture in 29 away to Southampton. So we've seen who the managers are bringing in this week, but the real question is, who should we actually be targeting? Let's take a look at the teams and players with the best upcoming fixtures and pick out who to choose in order to climb the ranks. So on screen we've got the teams to target this week, and we're mostly covering Brentford, Bournemouth and Fulham. They all have strong looking fixtures over the next 3, with some high points potential, and equally as importantly, they all have a fixture in blank game week 29. We've got the top options in each position from these teams on screen. Who stands out for you, Patrick?
Flecken seems to be the most sensible choice, and luckily he's already in my team. Kirkes was disappointing last week, but he's been a solid asset for me and I would highly recommend bringing him in. The only other player I'm interested in is Dango. I spoke about him last week, but didn't go through with the transfer and instead went with Rodgers. James, is there anyone else on this list you would like to talk about?
Other than the ones you've mentioned already, I think Mbeumo and Wissa can do really well in the next few. Kluivert and Dango look the best Bournemouth attacking assets despite Semenyo being in the mix as a smokescreen, and I do think Raul Jimenez will score well in the next few as well. So now we've identified the key players and teams to target, it's time to see how we're using that info to improve our teams. Let's jump into our team reveals and show you how we're lining up for Game Week 26. I'll let you kick things off here, Patrick. Talk us through your plans for the week.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying, major announcement. I know you will like this because you've been his biggest cheerleader. I finally decided to drop Onana for Flecken against relegation strugglers Leicester. Van Hecke comes off the bench for Digny, and the rest of my defence is unchanged. Despite everything I've said earlier, I've decided to stick with Palmer in midfield. Aston Villa have only kept 3 clean sheets all season. The data and experts advise selling him, but my gut feeling is that a player of his quality can't keep failing to deliver for this long. And Villa's poor defence record presents a perfect opportunity for him to rediscover his form, and the following 2 fixtures are against teams fighting relegation. I've also replaced Ahmad with Dango, who's been in great form lately. Another benefit is that Bournemouth are one of the teams not blanking in game week 29. The rest of my midfield is unchanged. Gakpo's injury and lack of clarity on his return forced me to make a transfer. I've brought in Cunha, who has scored in Wolves' last 3 fixtures in all competitions. And like Bournemouth, Wolves also don't blank in game week 29. I haven't decided who to captain this week, and will most likely be a last-minute decision. Salah has Man City away, which I still consider a tough fixture despite City's recent poor form. At the moment, for me it's between Isak and Wood. It's most likely that Salah will be the most picked captain this week, but Wood and Isak should be considered as differentials.
Okay, before we move on, I have to ask, have you got any plans on switching out Slot, or are you confident keeping him for this fixture?
To be completely honest, I've got bigger problems to deal with. Slot has actually been my most consistent performer after Salah. I don't have any plans of selling him at the moment. What about you though? How's your team looking for game week 26?
Thanks, Patrick. Well, I'm starting off with a major announcement of my own. My wildcard is activated. My strategy was always to wildcard this week, which is the main reason I didn't use the assistant manager chip in game week 24. I've been tweaking my team all week, and I'm really happy now with how I'm set up. Unless I suffer any serious injury setbacks, I'll be covered for blank game week 29 and set up nicely for double game weeks 32 and 33 as well. Starting in defence, I have a double up on Crystal Palace, who double in 32, with Henderson and Munoz. Then I've got Robinson and Kirkes with strong home fixtures. I'm playing a 3-5-2 this week, so in midfield I have Dango and Kluivert, who I really believe are the 2 best Bournemouth attacking assets at the moment. And Mbeumo and Minter, who both have tasty looking fixtures against the newly promoted teams, and then Salah has my last midfield spot, and I just can't justify taking the armband off him after Wednesday night. With City's defence being torn apart and with Salah playing on another level this season, it's hard for me to look to go against him. Wissa and Cunha are my strikers, and I've got Marmoush on the bench. I'm taking a massive risk by dropping Isak and Wood, and I do plan on bringing Isak back before 32. I'm just hoping he drops in price before then, and with some tough fixtures, the blank in 29, and with potential injury doubts after coming off with a late knock against City, I'm hopeful. I've got 11.7 million left in the bank, which does seem ridiculous, but I'll be bringing Palmer back after my 1 week punt on Minter, ahead of Palmer's Southampton fixture, and that will use up just over 6 mil of my budget. I do ideally want Palmer and Isak to drop before I bring them back into my team though. And that's it for today's FPL breakdown. Our teams are set, and we hope you're feeling confident going into game week 26.
Exactly. So, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know what you're doing for game week 26 in the comments.
Thanks for watching, good luck with your transfers, and we'll see you next time.